So Jeff, you're the accidental techie because you were a professional tennis player. You still kind of are. I heard from Alana that she learned more in one 30-minute lesson with you than she had in her previous.
I'm going to raise my rates.
You got to raise your rates, man.
Yeah.
But you were teaching tennis.
Right.
It was raining. You were getting married or recently married.
Right.
You thought, fuck, how am I going to make ends meet?
It was 1979, and although California is the drought state, it was raining every day back then. And I was teaching tennis. It was a great job. I loved it. And I was engaged to get married. We got married in April, but I had no income. So I went to a temporary agency and I said, I need something for 3 months. Just 3 months. It doesn't have to be anything brainy, just I need some cash. And they said, great. We have this nice opportunity at a company called SIVA, which was a division of Syntex at the time. And they said, they have a morning in the mailroom, and then in the afternoon you can work in MIS. I go, what's MIS? It's computers. I said, oh, okay. So
people would ask that today too.
They still ask that question, right? So I ended up going in, and apparently I had an aptitude for MIS because the head of the group said, I'd like to offer you a full-time job. And I was 25, and 25-year-old males are dumb, and I didn't really think about it too much, and I went, well, you know what, I can take the job, but then I can quit when the weather gets better. Not thinking career, just short term.
Yeah,
and so I took the job, figuring I'd stay there a few months, and then when the weather cleared up, I go back and teach. And in '79, when you look at the year, it's pretty much when things started taking off. And I remember in 1980.
That's when Apple went public, I think.
Well, I went to a demo in '80 or '81. It was early years, and it was the STAR system from Xerox up at the Hyatt Hotel in San Francisco. I remember it like it was yesterday. And they had this demo set up, and I almost fell out of my chair how advanced it was. And I thought, this is so cool. This is unbelievable. I was there with my boss, and people are going nuts. And it was one of those things where it just disappeared. And then a few years later, the Macintosh came out. So somebody was smart enough, i.e. Steve Jobs.
A lot of companies came out of Xerox because they didn't know how to bring anything to market, but they knew how to engineer things.
They actually had software that I used back then.
3Com.
Well, in the '79 and '80 period, we used a thing called Xerox Computer Services Software. It was a complete integrated ERP system on a mainframe shared, so cloud service back in '79, totally integrated software. And I took it for granted because that's what I grew up on. And then 10 years later, SAP comes around. I go, people are going, oh, this is amazing. I went, yeah, but Xerox had this stuff and it disappeared, right? So Xerox always had a hard time getting something not just productionalized, but growing because I got the sense they really didn't understand how to sell and market their own stuff.
A lot of focus on innovation and
it was crazy.
Ideas.
And then you had that whole era back then where you went, you had the PC era, then you had the database era, and then right behind that, the networking area and client server, and it changed how IT people were paid. I mean, IT people in the 70s and 80s were paid like entry-level accountants.
$28,000 or something as a mid-level programmer.
And they were all, analyst one, analyst two.
You could buy a house for $200,000 too.
Yeah, but those were the job titles.
Yeah.
They were all analysts.
14% interest.
You were an analyst one, analyst two, analyst three, and then when client server came out and totally complicated the environment, with distributed computing and you had computing in every department, and you had to integrate all this. You had to network all this.
Now, in the 60s, all this shit started like in the 50s. Well, okay, two people I think are given the title father of Silicon Valley. One was the dude at Stanford, who was the original VC of VCs. He's the one that convinced Hewlett and Packard to start a company. And he gave them like $10,000 or something, right? So the Valley in the 1930s and 40s was Hewlett Packard doing, I guess, like radio stuff. Or what did they do? What was their first? Oscilloscopes, yeah. More medical kind of stuff. And then the other guy that's considered the father of Silicon Valley was William Shockley. And he left New Jersey like in the 50s. He had Shockley Systems in New Jersey, and he started it, and you'll never understand, guess why he started it in Silicon Valley? Because his mom was dying in Palo Alto, and he was a good boy. And he came to take care of his mama.
Really?
Yeah, so
know it's
Silicon
just
Valley,
orchards
we
around
owe
here.
it all to Mrs. Shockley. Yeah, may she rest in peace.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny.
But he was a dick. He started Shockley Systems,
always something.
but they left. But he was nice to his mom.
No, but I mean, I look back because I grew up in this area, and it was all orchards. You had Mountain View, Sunnyvale, San Jose, and everything around it was orchards and Moffett
Yeah,
Field.
so beautiful.
But the very first product I ever remember coming out of Silicon Valley wasn't chips, which it was. It was Pong, the game Pong. And that game showed up in
That guy should also be on my list.
that, I tell you,
Nolan Bushnell.
Bushnell.
Bushnell, yeah.
That
What
game-
is the name of that bar? Line and Compass.
Line and Compass.
Line and
yeah.
Compass.
Remember that one? Yeah.
But that game was in every bar,
finally closed.
and it was the most addictive game because it was a tabletop. It was just like this. And you put your beer or drink down, and you spent every piece of change you had for 4 hours, and 8 beers later, all
ping
your
pong.
money was in the machine.
Yeah.
And it was brilliant. I mean, people played that game all night.
Yeah.
And it was so simple.
I should probably play that because I play chess and I get my ass
I
kicked
had
all
that
the time.
game as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. That's cool.